your own personal viewpoint and not that of the board. And third, no inaccurate information and nothing confidential. And if you have a caveat that says all that, then you can make a public statement. Having said that, just because you can, and let's assume this young man did that, doesn't mean you should. Is that helpful in any way, shape, or form when the Facebook tirade goes on, other than maybe making some people chuckle in the community, but it doesn't help the operations of the district? Here's another situation where a board member created a Facebook page inviting parents and staff to join in their concerns and questions. The question here is that the best way to handle it? That had said, a board member at the direction of the board and administration created a Facebook page and invites parents. That's not a problem. Going out on your own as a lone wolf and not dealing with the administration, not dealing with the full board to move forward can be problematic. So caution you on that. Captain?
Refuse to surrender your independent judgment to special interest or partisan groups. You're really supposed to be making your decisions based on district goals and policies. Okay, so you have a policy manual that really guides what you as a board should be doing and how you as a board work. And you should be setting goals annually, and decisions that you're making at the board table really should be based on how is this going to help us achieve our goals. And we want to make sure that we're not being swayed by special interests or partisan political groups. Okay, here, for instance, the board president asking the guidance counselor why her neighbor's child didn't get into the National Honor Society really is not something that a board member should be doing. That parent is really circumventing the chain of command, so he or she really needs to go through the chain of command to find out why their child didn't get put into the National Honor Society. A candidate running for his first term on the board promises in his campaign that he will do anything in his power to have the district start an ice hockey team next year. A person running for the Board of Education for the very first time can promise anything, the sun, the moon, the stars, anything. But the minute that they are sworn in as a board member, no promises can be made. So they can make the promise, but once they get onto the board, it has to follow through proper channels in order to get that ice hockey team up and running for the next year. A board member who asks to serve as an advocate for his brother and sister-in-law when they meet with the Child Touch Study Team to discuss their daughter's IEP. This is a conflict of interest for that board member. They really shouldn't be acting as an advocate for that family member because it really could be seen as a benefit to your family member.
Confidentiality. What happens in closed session stays in closed session until the reason for confidentiality is no longer present. Sometimes with the best intention and the best interest, people breach confidentiality. Not too long ago, we got a call from an administrator who was concerned about the situation that occurred, was looking for some guidance, said, board member went home after a board meeting, there was discussions about possible non-renewals, went home, was telling her husband, yeah, this such and such a teacher's going to be non-renewed, this is going to happen, here's what we decided last night. Little did she know that her 8-year-old daughter was listening to the conversation. And her 8-year-old daughter went to school the next day and told her teacher that she was being non-renewed. Before, well, you're chuckling, but you know what? It wasn't funny to that teacher. And that board member just didn't think. Thought she was having a private conversation, sure she was having a, it was okay, but you never know who's listening.
So, I mean, no. I would recommend that you don't even talk about closed session information with your spouse.
Good idea.
I mean, it really is.
It's hard.
It's hard, but you really shouldn't be, you shouldn't be having those conversations.
Okay, here we go. Technology is a wonderful thing, and it creates all kinds of good items. Here's a board member who during executive session texts confidential information to members of the public. There's just so much wrong with that. All right? One is the texting out of closed session, but also giving information to the public that's still confidential. It's not a new question, it's just new technology. Years ago in the early 90s, there was a board member down in Little Lake Harbor. He would regularly leave closed session to go to the bathroom, go to the payphone, tells you where we were, right? Go to the payphone in the hallway, call the local radio talk show host, and tell them what was going on in closed session, which was then on the radio before the board even left. It happened. So this is, I mean, obviously don't do that. This gets a little more interesting, right? Texting a member of the public or a fellow board member during public session so they can ask specific questions of the board during public session, presumably about public information, so I don't think you're violating confidentiality. Bad practice, okay? Bad practice. And it doesn't set a good image for the public when they see you up there working and they see folks with their hands under the table texting.
Actually, they're discoverable.
Yeah.
So don't be sitting at the board table texting, because if a member of the public thinks that you're texting back and forth to board members or out with regards to board business, they could request to see those text messages. So put the phones away.
Yeah, be careful with that. It's taking the place of the side whisper. You know, people put their hand up and say something. That doesn't happen now. Now you get the text that goes back and forth.
Okay, voting to appoint the best qualified personnel.
What's that? It is, I would say it's not illegal, but it doesn't set a good image for the board. And as Kathy said, to the extent that there is communication and text message, it could be operable.
Well, I will tell you, so here's something else.
Same thing, not illegal, doesn't set a good message.
Here's what I tell boards. It's not, it's not necessarily unethical, but how you conduct yourself sitting out at that table is really important. Because how people see you running your board meetings and what goes on at your board table gives them the impression that that's how your school district is being run, because you are the Board of Education. So what I would say to you is you need to project an image, okay, to your public that, number one, you're aware of what's going on at the meeting, you're paying attention to what's being said at the meeting, and you're interested in what's going on at the meeting. So I would really caution you to be as professional as you can when you're seated at the board table, because the reality is that everything that you do at this table really affects what goes on in your school district. Your Board of Education has a direct impact on what happens in your schools, so you want to make sure that the image that you're projecting is one that you want your staff and your students to model. So it really is important. Voting to appoint the best qualified personnel available after consideration of the recommendation of the Chief Administrative Officer. It is important for your public to understand that the Board of Education has one employee. That is the superintendent of schools. Every other personnel recommendation, anybody else that is hired in this district, has to be recommended to the Board of Education by the superintendent. And then, based on the information that she gives you, okay, with regards to the pool of candidates that she saw, why this person rose above, what their qualifications are, you vote either yay or nay. If you vote no, you can't turn to her and say, well, we want you to hire Ada Gonzalez. You can't do that. If you vote no on her recommendation, she has to go back out, interview again, and bring another candidate before the board. And then vote yay or nay again. So she's the only one who can recommend those people for hiring in your district. And that being said, We just went through her evaluation. The Board of Education is the only group of people that can evaluate the superintendent on the job that she does here in the schools. So a board member writes up an evaluation of his children's teachers who he believes are not performing up to speed and gives that to principals. No way, that's not what we're supposed to be doing. The board creates a policy that directs the superintendent to bring to the board at least 2 finalists for every administrative position to be filled. You could. However, if she's going to bring 2 candidates before the board, she's got to be able to live with either one of them. Because as I said before, she can't bring 2 candidates and say she's going to recommend A, and you say no on A, we want B. So if you're going to have a policy like that, she needs to make sure that if she's bringing 2 candidates for that administrative position, she can live with either one. And the board really shouldn't be involved in those. It really should be her recommendation. However, some boards do have this policy in place for assistant superintendents, for high school principal. Some even do it for athletic director, although I don't know that that's necessarily a good one for the board, to be involved in, but you can.
Okay, the next couple here dealing with chain of command. Kathy, you picked that for me, thanks. Supporting school personnel in the proper performance of their duties. And the next one, we're going to talk about following the chain of command and referring complaints to the chief school administrator, acting only when there has not been an administrative solution. Chain of command is really important from a board member's perspective because your job is to make sure the school is well run, not to run the distance. Kath, did you click that? Maybe we can write this in 2-3 minutes?
Yep.
Couple items here. Oh, go back, please.
Oops, I'm sorry.
Because the examples are good. Before you became a board member, you could criticize the athletic director on the soccer field, to neighbors and social gatherings. But once you become a board member, your role changes. And the ability to make those kind of public criticism, you're essentially evaluating. That's not your role. In fact, employees have a privacy interest in their evaluation. It's the superintendent and administration's role to handle that, not your role. So doing that on the soccer field is not a good thing. Setting up a process that enables staff to bring issues directly to clear the air, improve morale. Kathy talked about this earlier. The committee doesn't have that authority. The board could, in conjunction with administration, if you wanted to create that kind of environment, a more inclusive, more interactive environment with staff, but the board personnel committee on its own limited its authority.
So which of these do we want to really?
Can you go to the volunteer one?
Yes, because
That's
that
the important
one,
one.
this one is really important as board members because this one really changed the playing field
Keep going.
for our board members.
Keep going.
This one?
Keep
Keep
going.
going?
There you go. Okay, one more. Click.
About volunteering in the school.
I always thought volunteerism was a good thing. I learned that that's not true.
Okay, so the key here is down at the bottom about volunteering. Is it a one-day activity, or is it something that you would be involved in more than once? For instance, one of the things we heard about is a board member who volunteers in the school district as a stamp collecting advisor. Okay, so that's not a one-day thing. He's in the school, once a week. He has authority over school personnel. He has authority, over the students. He's given direction. So the volunteering piece becomes really important if we have board members who are volunteering in the schools a great deal. I mean, one of them that brings to mind is a lot of school districts do project graduation, and sometimes a board member runs that, and so that could potentially be a problem. I mean, another one that could be a potential problem is chaperoning school trips, because as chaperones, we have responsibility for a group of students. So You know, they are making it more and more difficult for board members and doing things outside of the school. So what we would tell you here is we have homework for Mark, okay? Because one of the things that is important is, you know, for him to go through and do an inventory of all of your board members.
And
To know,
administrators.
and administrators to know, you know, do you have relatives working in this school district, in other school districts? What is their role? What are they doing? So that, you know, we can make sure that as board members, we're not doing things that we shouldn't be doing. That this should be updated and really note areas of conflict, collective bargaining, personnel, whatever they might be. And the last thing really goes to the board members is to continue to look at the school board notes, because those advisory opinions we don't think are quite finished yet. Okay, so really, you know, we want to make sure that as board members, we're following the straight and narrow path that
And know that we're a phone call or an email away. You have our business cards, you have Kathy's information. If there's questions, please feel free to ask, and we thank you for your time.